Hey everybody, we're continuing our series on rhythm patterns. So today we're going to be talking about our 4-note rhythm pattern over our 5th chord progression. And the way these chord progressions work is they follow the major scale. And so we've been doing all these in the key of C. And so the way that works is you take the C major scale, so C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. You apply numbers to it by using the number system. And so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And then we use chords to follow that major scale. So the way it works is your first chord. Have you ever wanted to learn how to play your favorite worship songs on piano? Well, I have something that's perfect for you. It's called Worship Piano Academy. It's an online space to help people of all skill levels learn to play worship piano exactly like the pros do. It's packed full of simple techniques that are easy to follow and tailored specifically for worship piano players. If you're brand new to piano, we have all the basic lessons to get you on track. If you've been playing for a while, we have tons of advanced lessons and tips for you too. So check out worshippianoacademy.com. Is your 1 chord. So that's a C major. And then your 2nd chord is a D minor. Your 3rd chord is a slash chord. So that's a C over an E bass. Our 4th chord is an F. Our 5th chord is a G. Our 6th chord is an A minor. And our 7th chord is another slash chord. It's a 5 over 7. So a G over B. And then our last chord is a C. And so we don't use this chord progression, we don't play it like this because it doesn't sound very good. That's why we've come up with these 5 chord progressions to make this sound just a little bit smoother. So the way we do this 5th chord progression is we play our C like this. So it's a C note with octave Gs. And then our 2nd chord is a F sus2. So here's your F and you add the 2 over a D bass. And then it's a C over E for our next chord, for our 1 over 3. And then our 4 chord is a F sus2. And then our 5 chord, G sus4. And then our 6 chord is a C over A with octave Gs. And then our 5 over 7 is a G sus4 with octave Gs over that B bass. And then our last chord's a 1. And so I wanted to mention with our hand positioning, as we walk up this major scale, we run out of room with our left hand. So we have to drop down right around the 5 chord to give us enough room to finish that progression. Otherwise, your left hand's going to be walking into your right hand. It's not going to make sense. But ideally, what you want to do is have your left hand be as close as it can be to your right hand without overlapping notes. And then once you get to the point where you start to overlap, then you jump down an octave and finish that progression. So if we do it from the beginning. And then we're going to add that 4-note rhythm pattern on top of that progression. So the way the rhythm pattern works is we're using 16th note rhythm patterns. And so quarter notes is kind of the baseline of how a measure is made up of music. So there's 4 quarter notes in one measure of music. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. You double that and you get 8th notes, which is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then 16th notes is double that. So it's 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. So that's how we use this 4-note rhythm pattern. And the rhythm pattern that we use, it's 4 notes and it's always going to be the outside of the chord that you're playing. So if we're going to play our C chord like this, it's the first and last note of the chord that you're playing with your right hand, and then it's the top note of your left hand. And so it's 4 notes. So the first note is going to be the bottom note of your right hand, and then the top note of your left hand, and then the bottom note and top note of your right hand. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, and here's the rhythm pattern. 4 E and to the next chord. 1, 2, 3, 4 E and 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 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. So we'll speed it up a little bit. 2, 3, 2, 3, And now let's try playing that where we have chord changes on the 1 and the 3 beat. So in that case, our rhythm pattern is going to be 2 E and A, and then 4 E and A. So it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then another thing you can do, if the chords are spaced out a little bit, you can add rhythm patterns in your right hand just by hitting quarter notes on that 2 and 3 beat, and then you do the rhythm pattern on that 4 E and A that goes into the chord change on the 1 beat. So it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 4 E and A. 1, 2, 3. 4 E and A. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Like that. So another thing you should work on is, obviously songs don't always follow this chord progression where they walk all the way up and then all the way down that scale. So chords in most songs will jump around in between chords in that scale and kind of mix and match depending on how the song goes. So you want to practice this rhythm pattern and jump around chords to see how that kind of flows together. So it sounds something kind of like this. And then another thing that I really like doing is practicing this rhythm pattern without playing any chords. Just because the more you do it, the smoother it gets and the more comfortable you can get, and then the less you have to think about that rhythm when you're playing it, and it'll let you focus on the chords that you're going to jump to. So basically, if we're going to do that rhythm pattern, just all the way through that measure. So it's 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and 4 E and so we're just gonna kind of stay in the C position, and then our bass note we can kind of hit it on the 1 beat, and then do this rhythm pattern on the 2, 3, 4, and then kind of start back over on that 1 beat with the bass note. So it'll sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And you just try to make it as smooth as possible. Now let's try walking up that progression at the same time, not hitting any chords, just playing that rhythm pattern. It'll sound like this. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Like that. So now the last thing I want to do is go through all 12 keys and play this progression. Again, I've said this before, anytime you figure out a progression, you want to make sure and work that into all the other 12 keys, just because it's really good practice. When you're doing modulations, sometimes your fingers have to change a little bit to adjust to whatever, if you're hitting a black note or not. So it's good to practice in all 12 keys. So let's run through that. We'll start in the key of C. Go to D. And then E. And then F. Now let's go in the sharps and flats. We'll start with C sharp. And then E flat. F sharp. And then A flat. And then B flat. We'll start down here. And that is it. So practice that, and then I will see you in the next lesson when we talk about our 5-note rhythm patterns.